I'm in Rockwell Collins, working on avionics, and I don't know much about commercial aircraft. And I'm sitting in a room when we are discussing about the next PR problem report we are going to fix for the customer. And I'm realizing that I don't really know what my customer cares about. And my customer in this case was a pilot. So I took a step back and I said, you know what? I just never want to feel like that again, that what my customer really cares about. So I went to flight school and became a pilot.
Welcome to Next In. As you can tell, it is late in the day for us on a Friday, so we're going to just have some fun here. Hi, Shane.
Hello. We apologize in advance. I'm on my third energy drink for the day, so my heart is going, and it's going well. I'm still waiting for Celsius to come up with their slow drip line. Yeah, that would probably make it a lot easier.
Yep. Well,
IV hookup line. I have a bag over here. That would be super
and
helpful.
how much cocaine is in here?
No cocaine that
No
I'm going to
cocaine.
admit to. So,
All right. So we obviously a little bit punch drunk here late on our Friday. I don't know what day you guys are going to be viewing this and seeing this, but just know there's our disclaimer and our apologies. We have an awesome guest today. As you guys know, we typically are interviewing leaders and executives in the technology, AI, and obviously oftentimes in the recruiting space, or at least focused around talent acquisition and recruiting, because, well, that's what we do on a daily basis. We run a recruiting agency here locally in Nashville called Next Level Recruiting, although we do recruit throughout the country. And we have the, I guess, honor, it's pretty cool to have TJ Khizri, who is the VP of product for Veho Tech. He's going to be coming on, which is, I think some of my favorite ones that we've done are really product focused conversations. We'll see what we end up talking about. We might talk about Netflix and the show Monster, because that's all I can think about.
We're not going to, because nobody wants to talk about that. But we might end up talking about, somebody that ended up working in, things like space and defense, and then made multiple pivots. And I think it's really cool when we get to talk to product leaders to figure out, like, where do they start their career? How do they get to where they're at? What kind of pivots are even possible, and how that comes to fruition. But I'm really excited to talk to specifically about, like, how people can flip from industry to industry and still create massive impact. And I think that's really cool, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that likely want to make a shift, and they're asking themselves, can I really do that? Am I allowed to change industries? That's a common question that we get all the time.
All right. Well, then let's bring out TJ. So TJ, thank you for joining us. TJ, we got TJ Khizri again. Say your name the way it's supposed to be said, because I know I screwed it up. You told me it was okay that I screwed it up, but so how do you say your name?
The last name is pronounced as Khizri.
All right. So I won't try that. But so TJ Khizri, he did say that it was okay. I didn't screw up your first name, thank God. Just two initials.
Thank God.
So VP of product at Veho Tech. Real fast, tell us a little bit about Veho Tech.
Yeah, so Veho is a next gen shipping last mile tech company. We're trying to disrupt this legacy industry of last mile deliveries with technology. We are an asset light SaaS based company that's basically using technology and gig economy drivers to deliver our last mile packages, and also technology, how we get volume or packages into our network from big clients like Zara, Lululemon, Macy's, HelloFresh of the world, and sort them optimally and get them to our customers, their customers, in the most cost effective and highest customer satisfaction way. And that's been our value prop.
That's awesome. So last mile delivery, that's where you guys live and breathe and focus. That's fantastic. And you're the VP of product over there.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of your background, we'll call it your origin story, how you got there. I do think a lot of people tune into this. And when I say a lot of, we get about 6 million views typically. So probably 4 million of them are coming in going, hey, I got this executive, VP of product. That's a position I'd love to, and I aspire to get to. Maybe currently I'm just starting my journey as a product manager or as an engineer, and that's where I want to get to. So tell us a little bit about your story. How'd you get there?
And honestly, like a little bit more, because like you and I, we talked before the show, and like I really want to go even like little earlier, right? Like the college days, the before you got into college, what did you think you were going to do compared to where you're at now, and then kind of work our way up? So I want to hear a little bit of that, because I know that you had a fun initial kind of breaking into things kind of story.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey, I would say. I would start really back, in school days, and this is I'm talking about middle school. And my parents, especially as a South Asian, kind of gotten three choices. Hey, either be a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer, or get the hell out of my house. So, I didn't have too many careers to choose from. Initially, everyone's desire for me and my family was be a doctor. And my older brother, who's also a physician, I saw him get into med school and I saw the crazy number of hours that he had to put in. And I said, oh boy, no, this is not a career path for me. I am not going to go do that. So, looking at him as an example, I intentionally switched my career paths in high school and said, I want to go and be an engineer. So, what kind of engineer do I want to be? I'm always fascinated by cool and sexy stuff. So aerospace sounded pretty sexy. Wasn't really a huge fan of airplanes, but the word just looked really sexy. So applied and got into aerospace or aeronautical engineering.
Aerospace will help me get a girlfriend. That's all that matters.
Yes, and it sounds pretty sexy. So got into an aeronautical engineering program, got engineering degree with that, and started working on airplanes in Pakistani Air Force. I was one of the operations engineer, utilizing my skill sets there. My family migrated to the US. I migrated with them and came in and started working, applied to a few jobs and got into a top aerospace company called Collins Aerospace based in Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, of all the places. So left Pakistan and actually landed in Iowa.
Wow, Cedar Rapids. Woo!
Sexy place.
Yeah, that talk about sexy. Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Exactly,
Oh,
right? But the work was pretty sexy. I started my career was working on commercial business jet avionics. So Gulfstream G280, 9-seater business jet, really sexy product. Worked on that first market launch for that product, led certification and integration technology piece of that, took on some, within engineering, some tech lead roles, then pivoted to another commercial engineering role for a regional aircraft for Bombardier C series that was their competitor to a Boeing 777 or 737 or Airbus A320. Worked on that, got their product launched, and then wanted to just get back to military aircraft. So applied at Lockheed Martin, came to Lockheed and started working on combat rescue helicopter and the presidential helicopter program. Led some engineering and product work there. And then I started realizing that I liked the business and the strategy portion of things more than I enjoyed the engineering uh, side of things. So there was an opportunity with a leadership development program that I got into, and I did a stint with business development and strategy within Lockheed. And that's where I was exposed to pretty wide horizontal array of things, bids and captures, and worked with military leaders, how and sent put out proposals, and got exposure to the business side of things that I found really interesting, and then made a pivot to run a product development project for a missile development program for Lockheed. And in that process, basically moved to Dallas, Texas, or Grand Prairie, Texas, is within the Dallas Metroplex area. That's where the Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control business area established, and basically moved my family there, started this program from scratch, worked on a missile development program, got exposure to a lot of military leadership, my own Lockheed leadership, and launched this product to flight test. We went to White Sand Missile Range, saw that product in action. Very exciting stuff. And then in parallel, I went to business school. I was in Cornell for my MBA, and I had a lot of classmates who were from, these tech companies, Facebook, Meta, or Google, Amazon, and some of them talked to me about Amazon hiring, and there's a lot of hiring going on in the Amazon drone program, the Prime Air, and my skill set is pretty unique. I should explore there. So I got connected with some of the Prime Air folks, went through the interview process. They gave me an offer, but found out that once I got through the interview process, they did not have a product role anymore. They had a program management role, and that's what they could offer. But I had learned by that point that I really enjoy product, so I wouldn't leave my current job unless it is in product management. So I stepped back a little bit. So no, I'm going to keep looking. And the good thing about Amazon hiring process is once you clear the bar, you pretty much get a year of figuring out what job do you want within the same scale or same level.
Real
So
quick, I don't mean to interrupt you because you're in a train of thought here, but like there are people that are probably listening that are like program management and product management are the same. And you and I both know that that's wrong. They would not
right.
agree with that. There's project managers, program managers, and product managers, all uniquely different types of roles. Like had you joined that same team in a program management role rather than product, how would that have been a different type of role?
Yeah, great question. So in organizations where there's a defined program management office, or there's defined project and program management roles along with product, the biggest difference is a product manager sets the strategy, the vision, and also defines the priorities for the team. They tell this is where we're going, this is what we're building, and they're defining basically the what we're building and why we're building. And then you get engineering afterwards that's actually building the actual thing, and the program manager, the project manager, that are actually defining the when. They're coordinating with product, they're coordinating with engineering, they're holding stakeholders accountable for the dates and making sure that the project or that product is delivered in time, on cost, in schedule. So those kind of things. And for cross-functional complex projects, a program management or program manager is essential and actually critical for a successful delivery, because you could have the perfect strategy or vision, but if your execution is flawed, you're going to fail. And program managers make sure that we can execute really well, and they hold everyone accountable and keep them marching along.
So I had somebody try to say, I like to simplify these things in as few words as possible. And one of the ways that I was described to it, and I'd be curious if you would agree with this or not, product management defines how to maximize revenue. And that's all that they're obsessed about. They're obsessed with how do we maximize and achieve revenue, while a project manager or program manager is a liaison of coordination to make sure that things are on time and on budget, defined by somebody else. Would you agree with that sort of statement?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So I would, if you're really trying to simplify what a product manager or product is, the word I would use would be impact, not revenue. So product manager's job is to deliver impact for the business. And impact could be many things. It could be revenue, it could be customer satisfaction, it could be retention, it could be, you define whatever KPI matters to your business, and there could be multiple KPIs that could matter to your business. So, and the way a product manager would do that, they would go and say, this is what we are solving, and they would say the what, and this is why we are solving. And the why is where they're defining the impact. And you could solve a million things. The why helps everyone, especially product managers, prioritizing why this is the right thing to solve ahead of the other thing. And once that is aligned, then a program or a project manager comes in and makes sure everyone is executing to solve that. And we are hitting those goals. And if those KPIs are not being hit, they drag the product manager back. Hey, you sold us on this vision. I'm not seeing that. What's going on? And we need to iterate, or we need to change something to get to that.
Yep. So it'd be like you have product charter. Charter is to make money, save money, or optimize money, or, enter in the blank of a potential other option. And as long as we're vision aligned with that particular charter, we're
Right.
golden.
Right.
Yep. So I took us on a detour there.
Yeah,
for a
he
hot
was
second.
at Amazon. He
We're
passed
at
the bar.
Amazon, past the bar. I want to go back all of a sudden.
So, cleared the Amazon interview process, didn't have a product role in the drone program, Amazon Prime, but Amazon Prime Air. But I took a step back. I said, no, I'm going to join once I land a product role. Otherwise, I'm happy where I'm at. And then saw this role come up in last mile tech in Amazon for product manager. From my naiveness, I thought, you know what, drone programs are also last mile. This is last mile, so, I'm pretty close, so why not? And I talked to the recruiting team. I said I want to apply to this role, and they got me connected to the hiring manager. And this is very interesting because the recruiter tells me afterwards what happened. He goes to the hiring manager, gives him my resume, and the recruiter and I are working really closely together. He's really impressed. The hiring manager looks at my resume. It's like, this guy is like coming from missiles and aircraft. What am I going to do with him in a tech company doing logistics? And the recruiter said, why don't you talk to him? I think you're going to like him. So the hiring manager goes out of his way, and he might be listening to this, and he puts on in a subject for the meeting, just a coffee chat, informal conversation, just making sure I don't get my expectations high. And we get into a conversation. It's literally scheduled for 15 minutes, and he's asking me, so you're going to make this pivot. How are you going to approach a problem? And what I shared with him is a real life story from my time in aerospace as a young engineer. I'm in Rockwell Collins, working on avionics, and I don't know much about commercial aircraft. And I'm sitting in a room when we are discussing about the next PR problem report we are going to fix for the customer. And I'm realizing that I don't really know what my customer cares about. And my customer in this case was a pilot. So I took a step back and I said, you know what? I just never want to feel like that again, that what my customer really cares about. So I went to flight school and became a pilot. And that mindset that you want to walk in the shoes of your customer, and it could be as hard as, hey, let's just in parallel find time to go to flight school and become a pilot, was the mindset that I've carried with me. So I shared that with the hiring manager, and then fast forward in an interview with Amazon, and I said, so first thing I'm going to do, Mr. Hiring Manager, is I'm going to go to your warehouses and I'm going to go talk to these associates and drivers, and I want to be in the shift, actually moving packages myself, and manage a shift as a supervisor to understand the pain points and understand where can I make their life, their job easy, for efficiency, for experience. And that really resonated with that hiring manager, who was at that point willing to give me a shot, and then basically told recruiting, hey, I wanted to have this guy formally interview. And that 15-minute call basically turned into a 1 hour call, then led to a full formal interview, and then had my job at Amazon. That was my first big pivot from commercial or military aerospace to a high tech company in supply chain. I stuck true to my word, came into Amazon, and actually for the first 2 to 3 weeks, I told my boss, hey, the things were working here before me. First 2 to 3 weeks, I just want to live in a warehouse. And I did night shifts, 12-hour shifts, literally went in, moved packages, took down notes. Next, I would come home in the morning after an entire night shift. And before I would go to bed, I would just write this like one-pager blog, like what I noticed, everything, and then send it to my boss and go to bed. I would wake up and my boss would have commented on that and tagged other people, my observation. Very new, fresh set of eyes from an entirely different industry observation. I'm uncovering things, and I do this for 3 weeks. 1 week I work as an associate in moving packages. Second week I did a bunch of delivery routes as a driver. Third week I did a bunch of shift as a supervisor. 3 weeks in, I'm ready to come back to my corporate job. And I felt when I sat at the table 3 weeks in, I had a lot more context and a lot more conviction about the things I said that mattered, about as much as, if not more, as the people who've been in that job for a long time. And that also enabled us to like change how we brought in product managers, and we started bringing people in and forcing them or asking them, hey, you need to spend more time at the warehouses before you can actually start contributing to your day job. Because once you get sucked into these day jobs, it's really hard to find 2-3 weeks of time like that and do something different.
So I'm curious, like, what did your peers say? Like, you came into this role, you came into this new team, and you're like, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how I expect it should be done. I'm curious, like the people that were adjacent to you at the time, like how did that make them feel? Because I could imagine some people are like, oh, heck no, am I going into a warehouse? Like, I don't want to do what TJ's about to do. So like, is this going to cause all of us to do this? I'm curious if any of that showed up, because like sometimes that's a fear when people walk into the door.
Yeah, so to their credit, people would occasionally go spend time in a warehouse for sure and do a few hours here and there. I think that's an expectation. If you're a product manager, if they're doing their job, they're going and interviewing their customers. In that case, those are warehouse associates and supervisors. I think that the new or the different part was I'm going to do this for next 3 weeks, and I'm going to actually be in a path and break my back and feel the pain, walk the walk of my associates, my drivers, and the supervisors who are running our warehouses, and really getting a full perspective, not just hearing from them, but actually doing that. That was new. I think from what I could tell was well received. Of course, the folks who have been in the job wouldn't go back and spend 3 weeks in a warehouse anymore. But anyone who was hired or came in after me did at least spend a week or two in the warehouses before we expected them to start contributing to the day-to-day job. And I think that was a good pivot that the team stuck to. And I certainly hope that we are following that, because now in my current role that we'll get to in a moment, I expect that for my teams and kind of make it a point that people need to do that before I expect them to contribute to their day-to-day job.
So yeah, well, Shane's a product manager for Celsius, so that's why he drinks 8 of them a day, so that he can properly understand what the consumer is going through
Exactly.
when they go through withdrawals. So talk to us a little bit about Veho Tech
Yeah.
and your product and the org that you're developing and the product managers and what you expect out of them.
Yeah. Before I do that, like last jump that I didn't explain, like how I got from Amazon to Veho. So stayed with Amazon, did product for Amazon warehousing technologies, which is called Under the Roof Tech. Then moved into driver experience team, did some product work for Amazon driver experience team. Also led product for Amazon extra large, the heavy bulky space. And I was enjoying my tenure at Amazon, but then the whole wave for return back to office came in. And like other tech companies, Amazon was pretty much forcing folks to come back to the office. And if that meant they need to relocate to a different city, it is what it is. And for me, that meant moving to Seattle. And that was just not in the cards for me and my family. So I started looking around, and then I found Veho Tech, which is a startup, Series B, post Series B startup in a similar space as Amazon, in last mile tech space, and doing really disruptive stuff. So got in touch, applied, got in touch with the CTO, CEO, the co-founders, had an amazing interview process, and then ended up at Veho. So here I'm at Veho, and I started with leading product for our driver marketplace technology team, core route building, and supply chain technology team. And then a year and a half or a year later, got promoted to VP of product. Within this team or the product organization, we're really trying to build a culture of high performing folks, people who are self motivated, who want to change this archaic industry with technology, who are curious, who want to solve this problem and have the right attitude, and at the same time empathy to our associates in the warehouse, empathy to our drivers who are delivering, and empathy to our supervisors who are managing the show. And so here I am.
And so your focus is this idea of superstars, the best of the best working with you. Why is that something that was what you led with? So that means that obviously that's kind of, as you think about building any interview process as the hiring manager, it's all about this A player mindset of I'm looking for the best of the best, which I think everyone would say that's what they want. Whether or not they lead with that, I don't know.
But then they got a team of B players and C players and
right,
something else players that we're trying to identify.
Right. How do you identify an A player? Like what is it that you do to identify an A player?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One is what you touched on, that you want to hire A players. There are leaders out there who want to, who take pride in turning the ship around in a way that I can motivate people from B to A players, or I can get C players to turn on A players. My leadership mentality is you cannot turn a B player into an A player. Controversial take, but that's what I believe in. What I do believe in, that as a leader, I need to set an environment where A players can thrive and B players either rise up and become A players, or they scale, or they level out, or they leave.
Yep, they get
Um,
out.
so how do I identify A players? Well, there's a couple steps or phases here. If you're hiring someone, of course, you want to look at, I'm not looking for sameness. Like, hey, do they have the exact skill set that I want? Are they on? Do they have everything? Everything checks out. What I'm mostly looking at is trajectory, and I'm looking at curiosity and problem solving. So as I'm talking to them, I'm looking at the resume. Perfect resume aside, sure, they need to check few boxes that we need. But what I really care about is how have they been going in their career? Do they have that trajectory that I can see? Yes, this is an A player. People who get promoted quickly.
Yep.
Sometimes some leaders would look at that, no, they lack experience or they got promoted too fast. I don't look at it that way. I look at it, well, if they're getting promoted quickly, they must be doing something right. And
Yep.
that's a pretty good indication, that someone is an A player.
We do the same when we recruit. For one of the things that we teach any recruiter, that's like what we consider a next level candidate, is one is really strong tenure at a place. We want to see that they're not job hopping every 6 months. But the other thing is internal promotions.
Right.
If they're always promoted only externally, that's not the end of the world.
They're
but
leaving for a bigger title,
right.
But they haven't had any internal stakeholders actually go to bat for them and say they crush it. Let's get them up. Let's give them more
100%.
responsibility.
Yep.
Yes.
That makes a next level candidate is internal promotions is an objective way to identify what you're talking about, that superstar mentality.
Yeah, and then how quickly are you getting internally promoted? It's easier. I wouldn't say easy, but it's easier to get faster promotion when you go externally.
Correct.
But internally, if someone is getting promoted 1 or 2 years, that speaks a lot, because there is friction to that just inherently, and some bias built into that. So someone is doing that, then that means they're really killing it. They've got folks internally who work with them, who are vouching for them and standing up for them, and they have advocacy. And you just don't build advocacy unless you have results and people who see you grow in the company, and you're creating impact. So to me, internal promotion and faster internal promotions are a pretty big sign of someone being an A player. Second, beyond the resume, when I talk to them, the thing that I'm looking for is, are you self-motivated? Are you a self-starter? Did you, like the example I would ask people that they could share, what I'm looking for is, did you find or did you see a problem in a space that no one really came to you, but you saw it, and you went ahead and you pitched it to the business to solve it yourself? It doesn't mean you have to write the code, but just understanding that problem and then pitching a solution, and rallying people around it. That's another pretty big indication of, yes, this is a person that I wouldn't have to self-motivate. You give them a problem or a space, and they will find out a problem to fix, and they will see which problem is a higher impact problem than the other one, and make the right decision, or at least keep you apprised, and move on and take on resources there. So that's the other thing.
Well, I noticed internally here, this is to speak for why I'm a superstar. We had an internal problem, and that was Shane was getting headaches and not as motivated. And so I solved the problem, and I made sure that we had Celsius here so that he could have plenty of caffeine. So I feel like that's being self-motivated to recognize a problem that we had and solve the problem.
Or just
I would say Shane should be getting Celsius himself.
Or I'm just an enabler. It's one or the other.
Yes. So, Taylor, I think you created the environment for Shane to thrive, but I think yes. Shane dropped the ball of not getting Celsius himself.
Correct.
I'm just one of those rats that has a condition. I've just been trained through a science experiment. So when you do that, when you're interviewing, do you ask them, tell me about a time where you advocated for a problem? Are you teeing that up and you're hoping that they crush it and hit a home run, or are you waiting for somebody to ask that or share that organically?
More on the organic side, because people who have that mentality, they don't just do it once. they constantly do that in their career. So when you're asking them, what is that one problem that you solved? You're not actually telling them that you identify it yourself, but what you're listening for is how did they uncover that? And it was that a discovery that they were there, and then they saw someone complain, or they saw a metric go down, and then they deep dove and found an opportunity. That's what I'm mostly looking for. But because if you're going to ask that question that way, then for every problem is, yeah, every candidate would say that I discovered it myself.
So at that point, then, are you looking for an I solution rather than a we solution? Because when I think about it that way, it's like we collectively identified this as a problem, and I was given the task to go do this, versus we collectively were trying to do something, and the directive that I was given, there was something broken, and I realized it was broken, and then I had to like provide an alternative solution because I believed the task at hand wasn't necessarily the right one, even though I was doing it and I was listening to leadership's direction. But I told him that the secret sauce might have been something else, and that maybe we were missing something or overlooking something, and that was the direction we needed to go. Is that how that usually transpires?
It's a little bit of both, depending
Okay.
on the role you're hiring for. So you need folks who can identify a problem, but then after that, you need to build alignment. In my experience, it's more important to build that alignment upfront ahead versus just coming up with the best idea and then just executing that in silo and then just like throwing it over the fence. So what I'm looking for is, what was your contribution in that problem identification? Once you did that, of course, you're not going to solve it yourself, and if you did, that might not be, that might be an issue that we need to talk about, because you do need to bring people along in a cross-functional complex organization. So the next thing is, I saw this, I went and talked to my team or my stakeholders. We then swarmed at it, and we came up with this solution that we all agreed and aligned on, or we iterated this way, and then this is how the product was launched and became successful.
So let me ask you this. What would a B player answer look like, right? So like if I'm a VP of product or a head of product, and I'm trying to reject the B player answers, like I'm like, yeah, TJ, I want A players. I want A players. Yes, please. But I want to make sure the C player answers, I think we can agree. We know what that sounds like. But what's that B player answer look like, where it's like, ooh, that's close, but we need to swipe left still?
Answers that giving us a stink off, that's not my job, or that was not in my swim lane, or I saw a problem that was in another space and the other team was doing this, and then I went in. That mindset, that you like, that not an owner mindset, that's where I started like differentiating. Or you could say, there was a problem happening there, and my boss came in and said, could you go and do that? And even though that was not my business area or my job, I went and did that. Like that.
Lacking initiative, almost like they were told there's a problem and they agreed, versus they took the initiative to go, this is an issue that I saw that maybe many were overlooking, but it was a big, very real problem. Whether, like for you, by getting in and becoming a pilot, I learned the problems through their eyes,
Right.
versus just what my boss told me the problems were that we had to solve.
Right. You could keep on saying, I don't know what the customer wants. I can talk to them, but I'm not a pilot. Or you can find time and go to flight school and become a pilot.
So you have to be a pilot to be okay. Got it.
So
Yes,
A players will do whatever it takes.
exactly. And that's definitely what I'm looking for. And I hate the answer. Like, I'm using a strong word, hate. I hate the answer sometimes that I would hear. That's not my job. Like, that is not the expectation. That is not the values we want. If it's a problem in the business, it's your job, and you might not be directly responsible for it. Go talk to someone, motivate other people. And if no one is standing up for it, then you're the one, raise your hand up and solve it.
So Peter Griffin saying, you know what really grinds my gears? People that say that's not my job.
That's not my job. So tell us, where is Veho directed? Where is it headed? Where are you? Maybe you can talk about the greater business, and then within the product side, where is it headed? Are you guys growing? Are you looking for people, etc.?
Yeah. So Veho right now is actively servicing around 50 markets, 50 metroplexes. we want to become a national primary carrier next year. We want to basically operate every area that any of these large carriers like UPSs and FedExes of the world operate, so we can give our clients and their customers the best delivery experience that there is in the market. And so there's a bunch of what that means. There's a bunch of growth happening at Veho, and we are a technology first platform. So we are going to be attracting and hiring a lot of data scientists, engineers, and product managers, program managers to manage this scale and expansion to become a national carrier. And along with that, at the core, we also have an operations arm. Packages need to get moved in and out, and operations need to be run and managed. So we're looking for talented individuals who have skill set in product operations, who can run large, sophisticated warehouses as well, and also find business operations problems that we need to solve at this, along with the technology that we're rolling out. So that's where we're headed. We have a lot of like blog posting on our website as well. What 2026 is going to look like, and if I could summarize our strategy or what Veho should be and will be known for in the industry, we will offer the best quality at every price point in the delivery stack. That's the one liner I would leave the audience with is, if you're thinking, and quality in delivery means defect load, basically no defects or less defects, on time delivery, where you told the driver or the client to place your package, that's where you got it, all of the, and guarantee of delivery. So depending on our client, like I said, we've got a variety of client list. We want to offer them the best quality at every price point, depending on what the client wants to really offer to their end customers.
That's awesome. All right. So you guys are growing. Are you personally looking for product people specifically that you're like, hey, here are a couple of types of people I would love to see show up?
Yeah. Coincidentally, I've got two recs open in our organization. One is a product manager, a senior product manager, who will be working on the driver experience side of things. Our app, which is really phenomenal app, at par with what an Amazon delivery app would look like. We are hiring a product manager there to oversee that space. Very experienced and consumer experience heavy person who can put the driver experience at the forefront of their strategy and make the driver experience and workflow and the process really smooth and intuitive. And also hiring a product manager in the supply chain tech space. As we are adding more and more complexity in our network, we are going to have complex technology for orchestrating our network and how volume moves through our network and forecasting that, so we can predict delivery time and date to our customers. We'll be hiring a product manager there as well. So those are the two roles that I can immediately think of. And as we're going to grow and expand and become a national carrier next year, there's going to be plenty more opportunity in product, either in driver side or supply chain side or consumer side, that we'll be hiring and looking for really good candidates.
And so let's say that somebody wanted to apply to one of your roles and somebody was just like, TJ sounds pretty interesting so far. How would you describe, I don't know, there's two kind of questions I have. One is like, how would you describe your leadership style? And then two is like, who was a mentor that you had that helped you develop your specific leadership style? So somebody would know what to expect if they were to walk through the doors and they started to report to you.
Yeah, so my leadership style, if I can be a self-assessor and what I strive to be, I like to lead with transparency, and empathy and clarity. Now, those are the three things that I look for in a leader, and I try to emulate those as well. And what I mean by transparency here, I'm not the type of leader who's going to like withhold information or try to play politics. I feel the more information I can share with my team, the better. How set more context, set less control, so I can tell folks why are we doing something, where is the business headed, why this decision made over the other, and also just give feedback as well, with that transparency as well. The other thing is empathy for the people that you're building the product for, empathy for your teammates, empathy for your operators, empathy for your engineering team. You really need to have that so you can understand why certain thing happen the way it does. What can you do to make it better? You make it better. The answer is not to throw people under the bus, but be more curious in understanding the why behind things, and then figuring out how can you really solve it, and why did the team end up in a place it did, and take accountability. Like I try to do that myself, and I expect my teams to do that too. That if you screw up, I need you to be the first person to say, apologize. Hey, this was my intention. This is what we wanted, and this happened, and I take ownership of this. And I think that, to me, if I see one of my team members do this, it goes a long way in my eyes, and I think it goes a long way to their customers, to their stakeholders, when you're willing to stand up and take accountability and admit mistake versus being defensive. And I want to make sure that my teams feel empowered and safe to raise their hand and take accountability. Because if you run a culture of how dare you make a mistake, then people start, holding things back, and now they're trying to like be shifty, and that really does not set anyone for success. And last thing I want to say that I try to provide clarity in chaos. And I think that's a really good trait that I have looked up to my mentors and the people that I have learned from, that they've always been able to come in a chaotic situation, take charge, and provide clarity. And that just is so important in a cross-functional, complex business, that you can zoom out, provide clarity, bring the nerves down, and then set up a path. What are we going to do next? Continuously communicate what's happening so everyone is apprised and aware. Those are my leadership style. And to your other question, who are the mentors or the leaders that I have looked up? There are a few that I've been in touch in my career. Some very early. In my early age, I used to get impressed with charisma a lot, and I would look up to leaders who were very charismatic. And then I learned with age and experience that authenticity mattered more than charisma.
Yeah.
And you can rile people up and bring them along with your charismatic leader, but you can have a more lasting impact and build a more deeper relationship and a more effective team if you're authentic. So now the leaders that I follow who are on my speed dial when I need an advice are more authentic than charismatic. And I still call them up. These are leaders from my time at Lockheed Martin. These are leaders from my time at Amazon, and even in my current leadership. Just having them as a thought partner, call them up, tell them this is what's going on, and just like have a sounding board. And just those principles. Can you provide clarity? Are you being authentic? Are you being empathetic? And that solves the most complex problems that there are.
And shout out to your brother, because he made sure you didn't go down the path of being a doctor, right?
Absolutely. I don't think I would have been a good doctor.
No, I would have been a terrible doctor.
I would have been a great one.
Sure.
Jonesing.
Yeah. So
Write my own scripts.
Let me just say it. You expect A players, and you expect the exact same out of yourself too.
100%.
And that's that's what I hear. I appreciate that. I like the authenticity or the genuine or sincere leadership. And yeah, you expect a ton out of your team. I'm sure everyone at Veho is expecting a ton. I mean, you guys are in that startup fast major growth phase. It's not my job, doesn't work here. But at the same time, you've got some stories that show, look, I became a pilot because I wanted to understand my customer. And that I went for 3 weeks and became a delivery driver, package handler to understand my customer. That's what I expect out of myself, or TJ expects of TJ. And I expect my people in my product org to be those A players, just like you can expect me to push myself to my limit too.
Absolutely. Funny story. Back, I took an internal team transfer within Amazon, and I went to a new team, and they didn't know me. So first day in, I got into it with one of the engineering managers, who ended up becoming really good friend afterwards, but we just started off on a wrong foot. And the confrontation or the conflict was what he was expecting out of his team. Now, we were all on a site tour, and I felt like there was just too much hours in a day, and I felt the team would be exhausted by that point. So I made a point, and the response I got from that individual was, well, you can go to your hotel if you're tired. That's okay, we're here. And I got super annoyed, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna outwork everyone here if I wanted to, but that's not my point. I don't want to outwork everyone, which I could. I'm saying that that's a decision you could take for yourself, as a decision I could take myself, how much work I want to do. But once you set that as an expectation for everyone, and you've got teammates who report to you in that group, maybe they don't feel safe to say, it's an 18-hour day, I want to go home now. And how do you as a leader take the charge and be empathetic that, okay, am I setting the right expectation? Am I setting even realistic expectations? And that's what I do to myself. If I am expecting my teams to work really hard, I'm making sure I'm working harder.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how can people, at least from my perspective, people listening to this are like, holy cow, Veho's awesome. They're disruptor in the space. The whole, everything they're doing in supply chain and making it better. And I love that they are the top quality at each price point. Like, this is something I want to get more information on. I want to interview for, I'm excited about. How can they get a hold of either you or Veho?
Yeah, first off, veho.com, shipveho.com/careers. You'll see all our current opportunities. But if you don't see things or any opportunity there that you can directly relate to, then my LinkedIn is available. Shoot me a message. Happy to connect for any product roles. If you're an engineer who wants to be a part of Veho, please shoot me a note. I'll connect you to some of our really great leaders in engineering. Starts from our VP of engineering and some of our head of engineering in each business areas. And if you're an operations leader that wants to join and be a part of our journey, please reach out. I'll connect you to our operations leader who's also based in Dallas. Phenomenal leadership. I cannot be more excited than I've ever been about a leadership team that we have in Veho at every level, either it's operation, product, or engineering. And I feel like we're really doing something great here.
So we likely have to take a trip to Dallas soon. What is the one thing we have to do when we go to Dallas?
You should try barbecue. And my favorite Texas barbecue is Terry's Black in downtown Dallas. And if you like michelada, then I would say there's a few spots in Dallas downtown that you can try that as well.
I love me a good michelada.
I like barbecue. So
especially if the michelada comes with some shrimp.
So do they in Texas? It's like, I mean, you guys are very like Texas barbecue is better than Carolina barbecue is better than Memphis barbecue is better.
No question. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big fan of Texas barbecue. I'm a fat guy, so I like my barbecue. So I'm a big fan.
I love barbecue. Yes.
All right. So last question. What are you watching on Netflix? What is your guilty Netflix pleasure, or Hulu or Paramount or whatever you're streaming?
I like sci-fi shows and I like historical shows as well. So in the latest sci-fi, I'm very excited about the next season of Three Body Problem. Watched the first season last year. Really good show based on a book. Actually, a Chinese author initially wrote it. Really cool concept. I like politics, so big Game of Thrones and a House of Dragon fan. Excited for the next season, and some crazy politics I've seen, like with Succession. That's a really good show. So those are like the genres that I typically gravitate towards, and yeah, excited to watch.
You watch Black Mirror?
I did, yes, all of it.
All of them. Yeah. They're creepy.
We're not going to talk about the political one because that's not.
That's not podcast.
No,
that's not where I was going. I was going with like all the crazy things in there that like kind of are coming.
Comment below your favorite Black Mirror episode.
Favorite Black Mirror episode would be White Christmas. Playtest. Those would be two excellent. Those are fantastic.
They just all freak me out. Have you seen Altered Carbon? Altered Carbon is easily like one of my favorites.
I have not. I'll add it to my list.
Season 1, season 2 is kind of meh, but the season 1 is freaking phenomenal. I just wish they kept the same cast.
Don't watch Monster because you won't be able to sleep for a long time, realizing that it's a true story. It's like a real thing. It's gruesome. All right. So TJ, we can't thank you enough for being here. Again, he told you, say it one more time exactly how to get a hold. It's shipveho.com. All right. Shipveho.com/careers. Go there and check it out, or reach out to TJ on LinkedIn and get connected. This was awesome. I 100% agree. And I went through my own mental transformation when I was in young leadership of taking B players to A players and then realizing that's not the reality. Reality is find A players and give them an environment where they can thrive. So Absolutely. I love that. I love that concept. Again, we're excited to see where Veho goes in the next couple of years as you guys move completely national. So thank you so much
for beating out Amazon and FedEx goes away.
Yeah.
We're coming. FedEx, yes, we're coming.
I love Veho.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. For everyone else, comment, subscribe, and do whatever else you do on the social media platforms. Thank you and goodbye.